Hi everyone, welcome to Everything and Nothing, my next episode. And today I have a friend. I know I have a friend. So today, as I promised, sometimes I'll bring people over and be like, let's talk about everything and nothing and see what happens. And just like I said, I do have some people that roll their eyes when I speak, but then I have others that start laughing with me and then join me in the conversation. This one's one of them. So I would like to say welcome to my space. Welcome to Everything and Nothing to my friend, Brenda. Brenda, how you doing?
Doing good. How's everyone?
Everyone's fine. The dogs are here. I always tell people, yeah, everyone's fine. All of the voices in my head and all of the people,
All of them.
they're all
Yes.
good. Um, so no. So the dogs are fine. I always let people know if they really want to see what happens in the background, they should watch the video because every now and then one of the dogs will get up and just move from one bed to the other. Every now and then the Chihuahua gets up and pokes his head out and he's just kind of like wondering, but everybody's fine. How are you doing?
I'm doing good. I'm doing good.
Good. So I'll give a little intro of how this started, how this conversation started. So when I decided to go ahead and mm, do this, put some courage and bravery on and just start this podcast for why not? I remember I told Brenda, I was like, Brenda, I'm going to do a podcast and I'm going to invite people. And one day I'm going to invite you, okay? Because we can have a conversation. And the reason I wanted to invite Brenda is because Brenda and I have been friends since we were, what, 14?
14 years old.
Yeah. We
14,
met.
15. Yeah.
Well, I was 14.
You couldn't have been 14 because remember our birthdays are so close together.
Well, then you were also 14. I remember it well. It was
14, 15 years old.
I'm pretty sure it was 14. Was
We
it?
were in high school. How about that?
Yeah, freshman in high school. There we go. So yes, so that's when we met. And I have had, well, I've moved around the world because I tell people I'm a little tumbleweed and I just go wherever the wind blows. And despite all the many countries I've been and all the many houses I moved to, Brenda and I have stayed friends, and it's really nice. So most of the people listening know who I am and what I do and all the things that I create and all the stuff that I'm making. But you want to tell us a little bit about what you do and where you like, you don't have to give us your address. Please don't give me your address. I don't want to be responsible for any shenanigans, but you can kind of give the area of where you are in the world.
In the southwest area of the world in the United States. So I live in the United States, southwest area. And that's where we became friends. That's where we became besties in our high school years. Career-wise, I am a teacher. So I'm a bilingual teacher, teaching English and Spanish to my little kiddos here. Been a teacher for 15 years. I'm a mom of 3 boys. I am a mom of 3 fur babies. So kids, dogs, husbands, all kinds of little animals.
Husbands. Well, how many do you have now?
Well, I have one,
Okay.
but he's, in the mix of,
Is he a Gemini too?
he's not.
Okay, because I was going to say that would explain the husbands.
He's not, but
Okay.
fine one.
Okay. So now Brenda is in the US and a teacher, bilingual teacher, a mom and a wife, and you're a pretty cool sister. Like Brenda has sisters and she's pretty cool. So I have no idea what the topic's going to be. I remember when I reached out to you, I said, maybe we can talk about like relationships and stuff. And then I thought, well, actually, that's not a bad one because it's relationships in all kinds of forms. And actually, you and I have a similar story of our first years of, our young adulthood of we know everything, we got this, we're going to go and take over the world. And we're like, oh, we ain't got this. What the hell? So, it's up to you if you want to share any of that or not, but it's more about relationships and connection and what has helped us stay friends for this long, and the knowing that, because I know that no matter where I go, I'm gonna get emotional. If I need someone to listen to me, or if I need to ask for a favor, I know, and I've done it. I just get on the Facebook or on my phone and I just send a message and I'm like, do you have 5 minutes? And then we just like start talking like nothing. Also, like when we met last time we saw each other in person, what was our high school reunion. And we were like, it's almost like,
Every single time, it doesn't matter how long it's been, like how long goes in between our chats, because there's been times that we've had quite a few years in between of like not talking and this and that, but it always feels like we come back to the same place. It's always a reconnection of like exactly where we left off. And I know it sounds cliche, but that's truly the way that our friendship has been. It never fails. Like
yeah,
we haven't seen each other, talk to each other for a few months, years, whatever it may be. And when we come back to chit chat again, it's like if we never, we never stopped. And that's the way it truly feels.
yeah. And I heard that word today a lot, that cliche, and it almost sounds like it's such a bad thing because it's like so cliche, so repetitive. I think that's what it means. So Brenda is so we both have qualities. So when I'm around Brenda, I'm the one that's a little and then she'll be like, Ibet, it's the same thing. And I'll be like, okay, well, whatever. One of our favorite movies is Romeo and Michelle for obvious reasons, and we each know exactly who's who. Uh, so
That was literally our movie.
that was. But I feel like a good way to start is talking about friendships and relationships, and if we start sharing how like our memories, our perspectives of our memories of how we met, I feel like it's gonna lead us into why it continues to work, and perhaps even an ingredient or something that can help not just in friendships but also in the connections that we have with other people, like some of our siblings, because we don't all get along with all of our family members. We don't all
Right.
get along with all of our friends. We don't all get along with every human being. But then there's some that we're just like, yeah, that's the one. So
Yeah.
yeah. Should we start going down memory lane and remembering how we met in freshman?
Let's do it. Let's do it.
So we always start with, we forgot his name, but he was the history teacher.
Oh my God.
See, I knew it. It was Mr. He had an
I
easy
don't
name.
I don't remember his name. I'm not gonna lie and say that I remember his name, but I know that we met because we were in the back of the class.
Yeah. I think we didn't even have a chair. We were on the tables. We just
We
sat
were
on the
on
tables.
the tables. That's exactly
Yeah.
right. We were literally sitting on tables because there were no extra seats, no extra chairs, and probably if there was, we wouldn't have taken the chairs anyways because that was us.
I think the first day there wasn't, and then we just decided we weren't gonna sit because we just had, and he just didn't fight it. He was like, okay,
Right.
sure, whatever.
I think we were never born to blend in. We were born to stand out, and stand out we did.
Yeah, because I also remember there were many people that I met through high school, because I'm grateful that finally I was able to stay in one school for beginning to end, because I went from like elementary school in Mexico to elementary school in California, and then in there I switched every year. I was switching to another elementary school. Then I went to middle school, but I started halfway, and then I got out of there and went to high school, and I was so worried that I wasn't going to be able to stay there the 4 years, and I was glad that I did, because I feel like, okay, ding, that's the first thing. I felt like it was the first time I felt like I had something solid, like a strong foundation with someone from start to end.
Sense of belonging.
Yeah, because I didn't have that before, right? And then, like what I was gonna say, because on our high school reunion, I was like surprised that we talked to other people, because I was like, I always felt like it was just me and you in that universe, but apparently there were other people.
That's
I
what
don't
it
know.
truly felt like. And then the other people actually remembered us, which was kind of strange too.
Yeah. That's true. That is so true. Because I feel that we always felt like we were kind of these two weird things out there in the middle.
Well, we were the two peas in the pod that would never separate. We
Yeah.
were never, we were never alone.
No, we weren't. We were, yeah. Even the teachers remember that. Remember Mr. Jones?
Uh-huh.
He was
Mr.
always like, I know
Mr.
where
United.
one is, the other one's right behind. I
Yeah.
know it. You two are always together.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mr. Jones and Mr. Yanez and probably every other teacher that we had together.
Yeah. And some of them we were the worst nightmare.
Yeah.
Remember algebra? I don't even want to say her name because I'm like, she'll probably like somehow hear this and she'll be like, oh, I remember that. Yeah. Because I've
So
always been a little mouthy, right?
just a little bit. Just a little bit.
Which is why I think we got along really well. It was that hard truth.
I think we're very we're both Geminis. We're both Geminis, but we kind of embody the one or the other.
Yeah.
And then we come together to kind of make that one sign. And I think that you're one sign and I'm the other, and we're like well meshed or blended together, whatever you want to say about that. But yeah, I guess we could almost call each other twin flames.
Ooh, now we're getting onto something. Okay. Next book coming up. We can co-author that
Twin
one.
flames.
It was, yeah. Because as I'm reflecting on our way of being and our way of talking, it's like there were times when I was like, and then you were all like calm and collected. And then there were times when you were like, and I'm all calm and collected. And I'm not even sure how that happened. It was so, but yeah, so the world brought us together, we can say, because I remember we had this exercise where we had to remember the countries. I think it was geography, actually. That was
Yes, it
wasn't
was.
history, it was geography.
It was
And we were,
geography.
oh my gosh, we were so creative into how we were going to remember all the countries in the world.
The mnemonics that we came up with to remember. And now I would not be able to tell you, but I do remember us coming up with those, you know,
I know. There were a few that were a little like,
out
they
there.
were just like inside jokes and we laughed. We would be taking the test going, we knew exactly which country we were trying to write or identify. Um, oh, now I'm like, I gotta find that yearbook and find that teacher because he was so nice. He was really nice.
He
Because
was very
he just kind of accepted us because I guess of, you know, this was in the 90s, so 94.
the algebra teacher.
Yeah.
I think
No,
he
not the
gave you-
algebra, geography.
Oh, the yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Because if I remember
I
correctly, he was
know.
gay. So he kind of also felt like he was in his own little world. And then we are being our. Remember, people thought we were lesbians? Well,
Yeah.
I think my mom only thought.
Your mom for sure thought we were lesbians. I
Yeah.
think many other people thought we were lesbians as well because, like I said, you couldn't find one without the other.
Yeah.
That was just it.
And it was rough. I mean, I have not heard many people that say, "Oh, high school, it was a bliss. It was amazing." Most people are like, "Oh, hell, that was a nightmare." And it was. I remember it being. I mean, it was easy because I had you.
Right.
I feel like that's why I was able to make it through.
We
But
had each
like,
other.
yeah, I had like the memories I have of high school are with you, they're amazing and awesome. I mean, we never really fought. We didn't fight.
No, no, we went the entire 4 years. I don't think we've ever fought.
No, I don't think we have. I
Oh,
think after we graduated and we both kind of went our separate ways, it wasn't out of a fight. I think when we graduated and went our separate ways, it was, well, we'll get to that when we get there. But what I was going to say was, what was I saying? I was talking about something.
we were talking about the geography teacher and looking at the yearbook, and then we talked about us not fighting
Yeah, not fighting. Oh,
throughout.
why I felt safe. There we go. Because I remember I got bullied quite a bit in high school. because I was a little white Mexican, right? And then I didn't want to smoke weed.
I do remember that. We
So
were considered, well, what the term was here was fresas. We
yeah,
were considered fresas, which was like, I don't know how to describe it in,
it was
I
like
guess
preppy girls
like
or
a
something.
preppy
Yeah,
girls.
which is
Yeah.
funny because it's like because I was like the white Mexican that I think from middle school I got a bad reputation because I used to speak up for the Mexican community. And then the Mexican community thought I was a snob because I was speaking English. And I'm like, no, I'm trying to like speak up for us, like, on behalf. And then the white girls were like, oh, who is she trying to be a white girl?
Yeah.
And I'm like, no, I'm just a little pale, but Um, but that's what made it hard for me to when I went to high school. I was like, well, I don't have anyone. Like I didn't have a place to belong. So when I met you, it was like, oh, here's one that's kind of like me.
And I
I
guess
hope
for
she
me it's
likes
a little
me.
different. Well, it was a little bit different because I belonged to like the whole Mexican group. I was part of that whole clan because, my older sister was there.
True.
My older sister was in that circle. But then I also didn't quite fit in that circle because we were a little more, a little more preppy than just like all of the other Mexican girls. Um,
I think it's
so
because we spoke English comfortably, and a lot of them didn't want to. They had like this thing where they didn't want to let go of the roots, and you and I were like, "Oh, we're not letting go of the roots, but we're like we have to speak English."
right, right. So it was like both. I was in both worlds. I was part of yours, but then I was also part of like the typical Mexican group. So,
See, even my own best friend calls it. There's a typical Mexican group, and then there's Ibet, Ibet's world. I'm just kidding.
it's all right because I was part of that world.
I know. He's like, I'm so glad that was there. It's never boring in that place. Um, but yeah, those are the memories I have of high school. Like it wasn't the easiest thing. It was tricky, it was tricky for yeah, like I said, I wasn't really into smoking weed, and a lot of people in our high school, that's
Yeah.
a lot of what they did, especially the Spanish speaking kids.
Yeah.
They loved doing that, and
Well,
I
if you
wasn't really into dating
drinking at
or the
the,
drinking, yeah.
yeah, drinking.
And I was not into dating because apparently I was too snobby to date any of the guys there. So they either really liked me and then I would say no, and then they hated me. I was like this little B word. So that was were my memories of high school. So as I'm summarizing that, I'm realizing more and more why it was so important for me to have the relationship that I had with you, like the friendship and the connection that we had. It was like my safe place.
Safe place.
Yeah. What was it like for you? Tell me.
That's a
Tell
very good way
us.
to describe it. Um, I do think that it was the safe place to be, like, to be not someone who I wasn't, but to be myself, probably. To be that loud, crazy, what, whatever we did when we were together. Um, it was it was like a safe place to be so with you. And when I was with the other group, not that it wasn't a safe place, but it wasn't the same. Like I didn't feel like I could, um, I
Yeah.
don't know, like just let it all out. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, I know what you mean. Because there were some classes that we didn't have together, which was like horrible for us. Like, I'm gonna miss you. I'm gonna miss you. I'm gonna just one period. Well, see you after period. Okay, just we got this.
For the next 90 minutes or 45 minutes, whatever the schedule.
I know it was so ridiculous, but we felt like, oh, how are we gonna make it? Because yeah, when you describe it that way, I feel like it was the same. I had other people like clearly that I talked to, but it wasn't the same. It was like you have to be cautious.
Right.
You didn't want to be labeled something. I mean, we already had,
Right.
but we didn't
Right. You had to
more
be
like
careful with the things that you said or the things that you did or
or how
the
you behaved.
right, how you were going to behave, how you were going to be perceived. And when we were together, it wasn't like that.
No. it was just like we were just whatever. So
Right.
there's two things that I remember so well. Okay, there's three things. Okay, I'll say the third thing that just popped in my head. Probably the reason why I was called a snob is, remember, I think it was our sophomore year or junior year, people thought that I was a substitute teacher because of the way I used to dress.
Oh my God, no, I don't remember that.
Yes, it was. Remember how I used to wear like my mini skirts and my heels, and I used to wear like that two-piece suits and stuff.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Yeah, I got mistaken by a substitute teacher when I came into a classroom one day, and I remember the teacher telling me, "You're too wise beyond your years. You know, high school, it's a tough place for someone like you and Brenda, because you two are just so wise beyond your years. These are just kids in here. I mean, even the way you dress and how people think you're a teacher." And I was thinking, well, is it because I'm boring? Like, what the hell? But I remember my dad used to make fun of me a lot because of the skirts I would wear, my mini skirts.
Because of the suits.
Yeah, because they were short skirts. They used to
Yeah.
tease me like, how do you lift things when you go to school? I'm like, well, first of all, I don't drop things. Why would you drop things? That
Well,
was my answer. Like, well, why would you drop anything? And then my second thing was like, I'll just ask someone to get it, or, well,
that
you
was
know exactly
exactly
how.
it.
I
I
mean,
can pick it up myself.
yeah, well, and then that's the other thing, like that's one thing I love, like being from Mexico and coming from a family that's traditional. I had a quinceañera, the 15th birthday. So of course you were taught how to walk with the heels and how to, you know, get down to pick something up. Like, you're a señorita, you have to behave well. I'm like, well, what kind of question is that? It's like, understood what I would do. So
Duh.
that's one thing that I remember, but there were two things that I remember really well. Oh my gosh. Our laughing attacks.
Once we started, we couldn't stop.
We would call each other just to answer the phone and start laughing.
And start laughing. I remember that. I do remember that. And our laughing attacks would get us in trouble everywhere.
Yes. Well, yeah, because we wouldn't stop. It would just keep going. And then we would try to stop. And the more we tried, the louder the
The more
louder
that it
it
would
got.
trigger. Yeah.
Um, and then the other thing is, I have to say, we were pretty smart in school. We always had good grades,
Yes, we did.
which made it really easy to get bored because why were we there?
Right.
And when I got my first car, we saw freedom was just at the doors.
Just in a little gold car.
Yeah, the little Tempo. So I got this 86 Ford Tempo. It was a manual transmission, and I was so proud because I could drive and I could, pick Brenda up and have our coffees in the car, be like adults. And then we decided to start skipping when we were bored.
Mhm.
But where did we go is what fascinates me. We weren't out to drink. We weren't out to get high. We were
No,
not out to make out with guys. We would literally look at new restaurants and go eat.
we were wise beyond our years.
We were. It's like, okay, well, what's the next best taqueria and where can we go try some good tacos?
I remember that. It was always good times. It was
I
always good
know.
times.
But that right there, for me, sets the tone of our friendship and how part of, we were in our own universe, part of something else that was kind of monotone and boring. Like,
Right.
it was
Right.
easy to go to school. It was easy to learn. It was fun. I've always said that one of my core values is fun. Like, if I'm not having fun, I don't want to keep going. And I think that's one of the reasons why you and I stayed friends for so long, because we were always laughing
Always.
at ourselves, at
Most of
other
the time,
people.
yes. Yes,
Yeah, at stories. We would come up with our own words.
we would.
Yeah. Those are the memories I have of.
We had some good times. We did.
We did. We did. And it was like I feel like it was so honest and true. Like nothing or anyone could like come between us. There was
Right.
no room for anyone to gossip about us. There was no room for anyone to say, "Oh, did you know Brenda said?" Because I'm like, no, she's always with me.
Right.
And I feel, for me, that set the tone of like my future relationships with people, like romantic relationships. Because my last relationships I had, I was always like, this relationship should be about two people. Who cares about everyone else? And I'm like, why can't everyone get it? Like Brenda got it. Our
Duh.
friendship was about us and no one else.
Do you remember when we would say that we would marry each other if we weren't married by
Yeah.
a certain age? Do you remember that?
Oh, yeah, of course. That's probably why people thought we were lesbian. Now that I think about it, if someone overheard that, okay, that. Um, I also remember,
That
um,
it was truly that we just like valued each other. Like we had that connection.
yeah,
You
I-
that if someone couldn't live up to that standard, it was like, what are we doing?
yeah, and we meant it too, like
Yeah.
because I knew, I knew you, like I knew if anybody was gonna be with you, they had to really value you, like appreciate you and like love you and like respect you, and it was a big thing. So we were like, if it doesn't happen, we'll just marry each other
We'll
because
just marry each other. Yeah.
like I'll respect you and I love you and I appreciate you.
That's right. And it wasn't you're absolutely right because it wasn't ever said as a joke.
No, it
It's
was
said
like
as
we got each
a
other.
true. Yeah. Yeah.
Like no matter what, we're gonna be there. And then we used to say, but if we do marry other people, I was desperate to have a baby and have boys, and you wanted girls. That was our
Yep.
thing. We were like, okay, we're gonna figure it out. We're gonna find two guys, and then we're gonna marry them at the
Somehow.
same time, and we're gonna get pregnant at the same time, and then our kids are gonna grow up together. We would like fantasize about how our life was gonna be.
Everything was planned out
Yeah, we're not control freaks or anything.
at all.
No, 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 nothing.
Oh,
Um, and I remember, like, usually it happened that when one was dating someone, the other one was also dating someone, and then for whatever reason, we would end up breaking up, and then the other one would also break up. It wasn't planned; it would just
it
happen.
was planned.
Our
Right.
standards were like high with like this. These guys had no chance. Like seriously.
You are right.
And then, of course, the time came where we graduated and we had to move on, and that was something that put a dent in our. Because at the time I was waiting for my permanent residency to come in, and I couldn't go to university. I had to wait because I didn't have uh, my documentation in order to start university in the US, and you did.
Yeah.
And that I feel like put a little division because I felt like you took off without me and I was left behind in the dirt all alone, you know? Because we were what, almost 18 when we graduated. We were 17.
We were
Yes.
17.
Yeah.
Yes.
And yeah, it was I remember feeling like, well, I don't see her anymore and she's out there doing her own thing and I'm over here, you know. It was almost like if it was in a movie, it was like one of those sad scenes where like, yeah, like that's it. Like now we're separate. And you were still in the same city. You were just going to universe. That's a funny thing.
We're still pretty close. I mean, in location and geography, but it felt like worlds apart because yeah, we weren't hanging out as much because I was going to college and you weren't. And then other things happened.
Yeah. Because right after that, it was what I was 21 when I got married the first time. And I talk about that in the book. So I'm okay telling my story. And it was a rough one. Turned out to be like an abusive one. And I went from having like this solid friendship with someone, this solid connection with someone where life was all about fun, where we talked about how amazing our life was going to be. And we appreciated each other so much, our quirkiness and our uniqueness. And then to get married to someone who it was like the complete opposite experience. I didn't feel respected. I couldn't really be myself. I couldn't speak up. It was hard.
It was.
It was freaking painful. And then to
It
be
was.
young, right? Like, because I remember thinking, well, I don't want to get divorced. Everyone's going to be like, we told you so. I don't want to be a failure. And as we're talking, right now, I'm realizing that connection between, there's a lot of people that say our experiences in the past from childhood or whatever will impact our relationships later. Well, now I know why I have such high standards with relationships, because I'm like, hey, I had a friend in high school for years. We saw each other
You
every
need to
day.
live up to that because
And she loved me and she accepted me for who I was, and I accepted her for who she was. And this is not working. This whole thing of like criticizing me for being, outspoken, or criticizing me for being too hyper in the mornings, that's a no-no. And I'm like, oh, wait, no, that was just Brenda. Yeah. But that was hard. And I feel like we had that gap of like you going to school and me going off, getting married. And then when I was 24, I went back. I got divorced and I went back to New Mexico. And then we reconnected again at university.
that's right.
Yeah.
That's right. So in the time that Beth got married and I had a relationship as well, and that relationship was not good either. It turned, into the same situation. It was very much Mexican macho. You're gonna do what I say because that's what it is, and you know, the domestic violence and stuff like that. So by the age of 21, I had a child already. By the age of 21, I had had that relationship and um then my son. So by the age of 24, when we connected again, I had my oldest child and my middle one. So I had two kiddos by the time we reconnected.
Mm-hmm. And it's interesting, I'm glad we're having this conversation, because in the second book I wrote, I talk about how at 21 I felt like I was behind because, growing up in a community, in like a Mexican traditional community, you usually start early. You want to have kids right away. And I kept feeling like I'm failing here. And then the funny thing, not funny, haha, but interesting funny, is how you ended up getting married to someone who was Mexican, like hardcore macho. I ended up getting married to an Anglo white guy who turned out to be freaking abusive too. Because I was like, oh, I'm not marrying a Mexican. They're too macho for me. I'm gonna go the other way. And life was like, oh, really? All right, girl.
There you go.
How about that? It's like, oh, it has no nationality. They're just crappy people out there. Well, maybe they're not crappy, but there are people that need help. People that need
very, help. Very much so.
Yeah, let's just leave it at that.
That's good.
But I remember when we reconnected, it was like, it was almost as if I felt like I was so grateful to hear your story, because it showed me that you trusted me enough to tell me the story. Because as domestic violence survivors, it's a whole journey of who you tell, why you tell.
Right.
Because there's a lot of shame, there's a lot of guilt, there's so many emotions going on in like the person's experience. And so when we reconnected, the fact that we were open enough to each share, for me was like, oh, I'm back to my safe place. It wasn't like, oh, I'm glad she also had it rough. No, it was more like, oh, I'm glad she's telling me, because we can both move through this together. We're not, I'm not alone anymore. I can go back to my safe place. I can go back to, the one that loves me. I'm not crappy. I'm not, dirty. I'm not this little piece of whatever. Um, and then I was so happy to like hear about the babies. Oh, I was so happy because I was like, that's amazing. And I was like, I mean, I know you wanted girls and boys, don't worry. I'm sure she loves you. I'm just saying. But it was like, it was just beautiful to reconnect in that space. That's what that was like for me to, and then to go back to school, right?
Like for us, it's really been like every single time we've reconnected, or there's been periods of times where we don't talk, or and then we come back together. It literally is like there's no time that has passed, in between the time that we stopped and the time that we reconnected again. Like, and it's been like that each and every single time. I know that, this is a lifelong friendship. I really do know that. Like, I truly know that. It's not, oh, hopefully we get, no, I know we're gonna get to, old little ladies that have wrinkles all over the place. And
50 years or so. Yeah, whatever.
yes, of course. Like,
Well, yeah, I mean, what are we
duh.
talking about?
Yeah.
Um,
But you know what I'm saying. We are going to travel this life together.
yeah. With acceptance, right? Because I think after that, we accepted that we were both moving in different directions.
Right.
But knowing that we had that period, that gap, and then even though we both had it rough in that similar way, and then coming back out and be like, "Ooh, you too, yeah, you too." Hey, but we made it. It's like, yeah, we
Right.
because I think I'm pretty sure we both. Well, I know I did, and I'm pretty sure you also had a situation where we both almost got killed in those relationships, like nearly, like that
Yes.
bad. So I feel like being able to come out of it alive and then see someone that you care about, that you love, and then know that she also went through it, because it's like, oh, I know exactly what that feels like because I was there too. And it's,
Right.
it's some people don't believe it or they think like it's an exaggeration, but no, it was not an exaggeration. So I remember when I went back to university, because we had that astronomy class. Uh,
Yeah.
that's where I learned, okay, she's going to be a teacher, because I was struggling with, remember the rotation of the moon? I was like, I don't get it. And the professor kept trying. I'm like, I still don't get it. You're like, because I remember then they said, okay, well, all the students have to come up um, to the room, and we all had to explain it. And I was like, oh no, because I don't know how to explain it. Like, and you were like, it's simple, is it? And I was like, how does she freaking get it? I don't get it. Like, what's moving? I don't know.
I don't know which
Remember that
one's
day? Oh my,
I do remember that day.
because I was
I,
like, you know what? I give up. Whatever she says, that's how I agree with her. She's got it. We got it.
we're good.
We're good. I'm good. We're good. Uh, and then we went back to our old habits of eating Mexican food. We used to have those burritos. Oh, those are so good.
Yeah.
Good. Because I remember we were looking at like what electives, because we knew at that point we were going in different directions. I wanted to study international business. You clearly had your focus in something else.
Yeah.
And, but we knew it doesn't matter because we're still going to be friends.
Right.
And that reminds me of the importance of in a relationship when it's solid and when we know that we're safe and that it's good. It doesn't matter where we go because we know where our center is.
Right. Right. It's almost, I don't know if I can compare it to like blind trust. Like I just know that you're gonna be there for me all the time. It is.
Yeah. And we needed that because, man, I left. I went to Germany. I went to, part of my degree was to study abroad for a semester. And of course, I went for 2 semesters. And then I haven't been back. I went from there to England and then from England to Canada now. But we stayed we stayed in touch, like,
Yeah.
and our lives have been a lot better.
They have.
I feel. I feel like
They
we both learned our shitty shenanigans early in life,
Yeah.
and then we moved on. And you've been there for me when I was going through my challenging times, like the fertility complications. How it wasn't working, and it was never a judgment from you, and I'm grateful for that because I did get some opinions, like strong opinions from some friends who kept telling me, well, you don't get pregnant because you're doing treatments. God's not going to help you if you do that. And I was like, yeah, I don't think it's about that, but okay. But I feel judged, like I was doing something wrong. But you never did that. And the other thing I love is how every time I went to visit you, you shared your family with me. That was amazing. And your kids just went with it.
Very much so. Very much so. I think they just know that their mom is a little out there and they just go with, whatever. But
Yeah.
no, you really even connected, with my boys when you were here. You did. You connected with them. So they felt comfortable around you. Again, going back to the comfort, they felt comfortable around you. So it
Yeah.
was easy.
Yeah. And like here we are. Here we are. I remember it was 2018, yeah, November. I went to New Mexico to do that. What was it, the 20-year reunion?
No,
Was it 20?
this
10-year reunion?
year.
5 year, 2 years?
Huh.
Well,
Like
that math does not add up. I mean, I know I'm not the brightest, but that really
the
would
math is
add.
not mathing.
The math is not mathing. Um, but it was so much fun to be there and going to like the football game because that was a thing.
Yes.
I just remember the cheerleader stuff, but we're not going to talk about the cheerleaders. Let's focus on the hanging out and the football game and how fun it was. And at that point, it really hit me. Like,
Those pictures all just come up in my memories all the time.
I know. And it really hit me then. Like, we made it this far with a lot of acceptance. And it's easy to accept because no one can ever take away what we built for those 4 years.
Right.
Because even in those 4 years, we both went through a shitty experience in our own way.
Yeah. Yeah, we did.
And we were there for each other. Like we told each other everything. It was,
Everything.
yeah.
Literally everything.
And it was good to have someone like, I don't think, I feel like not many people allow themselves to connect to someone to that level anymore.
I think everybody's afraid.
Yeah.
Afraid. Everybody's afraid to get hurt. Everybody's afraid of the judgment. Everybody's afraid of what are they going to think? What are they going to say? And I think it's well, I don't know. I don't know that it's more prominent, but we see it. We see it a lot because of social media, because of, things like this. Like people share their stories. But nobody trusts anyone anymore. Like there's no trust, and what if I tell them this, what are they going to think? If I say that, what are they going to say about me? And it's a sad state of the world, I think, because we shouldn't live that way. We
You
should have
know,
trust in our fellow human beings.
now that you say that, it's so true. I've experienced that. I've had definitely two experiences with two women who I thought we were friends. Again, now I know why. I thought we were friends because you and I were such good friends. I'm like, oh, well, yeah, of course. I've had that before. Oh, I can tell them everything. And I told them everything. And then the two little monkeys, I don't know, freaking once they decided they weren't my friends anymore, they went and told my ex-partner all the things I said, which thankfully I also told him all those things. So it's not like he was shocked. Um, but
Out of nowhere.
well, yeah,
Yes.
because when they went and told him, he's like, oh yeah, I know that. Yeah, she also told me that. And they're like, oh, oh. But for me, it was like, well, what happened to what you just said, the trust? Like, why would you do that? Who does that? And it was hard for me to understand. I know I'm in my 40s and I'm experiencing this thinking, where did this come from? Because I have a friend that we were friends since we were in ninth grade, 14, 15. And I know for a fact she has never told anyone anything I told her because I haven't told anyone anything I've told her. And the stories that I share are stories that we both feel comfortable sharing about each other.
Right.
But one thing that also I experienced in our friendship was there was no competition ever. Ever. It's
That's
probably because we're both gorgeous, but I'm just saying.
true.
Um,
All of it is 100% true.
exactly. I'm just saying, but it's true. Like, because I see right now, I see so much competition amongst women. And yes, I'll say it because I know I've had some people that are like, how can you say that? I'm like, because I'm a woman and I see what happens in women world.
Right.
Um, and so much resistance and so much harshness. And I'm really, really grateful that I was able to experience 4 years with, well, 4 years plus, but 4 years of every day
Right.
with a friend that was not harsh because we were like so feminine and so like loving and yes, we were also hardcore and people were afraid of us sometimes, but um, that's because we had clear boundaries.
Exactly. Exactly. Well, we knew what we wanted. Yeah. We knew what we wanted and we weren't going to,
Settle,
yeah, we weren't
sacrifice.
going to settle or waver or, yeah.
I think even our prom. Do you remember our prom?
I wasn't here. I
Which
wasn't
prom?
here.
Which prom did we
A
go to
senior
then?
prom, I wasn't here. So I was in Mexico. I remember because I had a dress made specifically for the prom. I never wore it.
So was it the junior prom that we went together?
Yes,
Okay, that makes
it
sense.
wasn't the senior one
It was with
because
the maroon dress.
yes,
Oh my
the
gosh.
ones that we
Yes.
were in the quinceañera with. Yes.
Yes, that one. Yeah. Our maroon dress. Oh my gosh. Yeah. Anyway, it's been like it's amazing. It's amazing how, like I said, I didn't have a specific topic what we were gonna talk about. And I knew that toward the end everything was just gonna fall into pieces. And I feel like for me, this is like I just gained a lot of clarity onto why I have such high standards with friendships and with relationships in general. Because I had
Why the
well,
circle is so small?
well, yeah, because now I like you're the reason. You were my first solid connection, my first solid friendship where I felt safe to just say anything, like literally anything, and know that it was okay. And I can tell you for a fact that I've tried doing that again and and it doesn't work. Not everyone is, everyone moves at their own whatever, but there's a lot of judgment, there's a lot of competition, there's a lot of unnecessary stuff. And I do feel that our friendship, our connection, and our relationship really taught me the value of a good quality, good, solid, you know, characteristics
Yeah,
for a relationship, for a friendship. So
that is a good point. That is a good point because, like, I'm this is my second marriage, so not my first marriage, but this is my second marriage, and a lot of the things that like we're describing are present in my relationship now, my my marriage now. And in the first one, it was very much not not as dry boundaries, but there were a lot of boundaries. And I wasn't again, I wasn't myself, because there were a lot of parameters around, well, you can do this, but you absolutely cannot do, XYZ. And in this relationship, it's very, oh, yeah, like whatever, whatever you need, whatever you feel, whatever, let me know. Well, and there's a lot of listening, a lot of, communication back and forth. And it's very much like our connection.
Yeah. And I almost feel like with the first marriage for you and for me, I almost feel like they called it boundaries, but it were more restrictions.
Right.
Because boundaries for me are healthy things, right? And yeah, I remember one time I was flying to see my mom. I was going to New Mexico and I packed my stuff and he literally went through my suitcase to see what I was packing. And he saw some of my skirts that I was taking and he took them out and he said, "You can't wear that. I'm not there." Which of course, me being me, I'm like, okay. And in my head, I'm like, I'll just buy new ones, but sure, take them out. Because, even though it was tough and it was rough, my spirit was not broken, which is probably why I got the beatings that I got. Because you cannot break my spirit. I can't remember who's saying that, um, but those are like living in like really restricted relationships where you're not even allowed to just be yourself. And I feel like that is a good topic to talk about in another, like that deserves its own thing.
Yeah.
I didn't want this one to be that because I wanted to first to respect you and see how you felt and how open you wanted to be. But that's definitely one that we can have where we can dive into the dynamics of that and what it was like. Because to be fair, we talked about it when we first met, but we've never actually sat down because it was too raw. I feel
Right.
it was
Yes.
like, we're just grateful we made it out alive. That's all we need to say. Let's keep going. Whereas, when I tell the story now, I'm not in the story. I'm a witness of the story. I can tell you what it was like, and it doesn't take me down. It doesn't hurt. It doesn't, yeah.
Bringing up, yeah, without bringing stuff up.
Yeah, but it's a good topic to share, because unfortunately, it's a topic that it still exists.
Right.
And I feel like it's a good reminder when more and more of us share the stories, it inspires others and it gives them permission to feel what they're feeling because other ones are feeling it and they're saying it.
Right.
And some things for some people may be like, oh, I'm sure that only happened to me. I'm like, no, it also happened to me.
Yeah.
And that's also not okay. Like that, like you can't wear skirts because I'm not with you.
Right. Or you can't wear that dress because when we dance, it pulls up some way and they're gonna see you. Like, yeah, it was.
Yeah. And a lot of the times when we're in those relationships, we don't tell anybody anything. Like I didn't tell anyone, and I knew you were very similar. I didn't tell anybody anything because I wasn't sure how I was going to fix it because I wanted to make a decision. And I first wanted to make sure that it was going to be an informed decision. At 20, 22, 23, 24, I didn't know that was the term for it. But when I reflect back, it's like I needed to make a decision because it's a whole ride from so many feelings and emotions. And I do feel like it deserves its own space. But yeah, I do feel that. We can even write a book about it.
We can revisit. Absolutely.
Yeah. But I'm glad that this topic came up today about the foundation of our friendship and the impact that it has. A lot of people talk about the crappiness and the impact it has on our life. I feel like today was a good one because we touched on how amazing it was.
The positives.
Yeah. And the impact that it has in our life right now. So if I ever find another relationship and the guy is like, man, you have really high standards, I'm gonna be like, talk to Brenda.
Send them
She
my way.
started this.
Send
I'm
them my
just
way.
saying. I'm just saying.
I'll whip them into shape for you.
I know, right? Because I do feel like the more we talked about it today, the more I realize this is how I know. Whenever I would say there's got to be someone out there that loves me and accepts me for all of that I am. Well, yeah, it's you.
There is someone out here.
Yeah, so that's why it makes it um challenging when, being with someone and then they start criticizing because I'm like, why are you doing that? Brenda never did. Now I know how to quote it. In
Never
the
did
past,
that.
it was more like, I don't understand. Um, but it's what made it's for me, it's what made our friendship so beautiful. And it really helped me. This conversation has helped me have more clarity of just how meaningful it was and how powerful it was to spend 4 years with you every day, growing up, becoming, you know, from freshman year to senior year. That's a lot of growth, a lot of experiences, a lot of,
A lot of, yes.
you know, and I'm so grateful that you said yes. And I'm so grateful that we're having this. Like I said, this space is mainly for me to express because like you, I went through periods of my life where my voice was not allowed. I wasn't allowed to express, and now I can. And I will continue to do that. And whoever wants to join me with it, they're welcome to. And the more we talked, the more I realized just how important our friendship was at the time that we met and how it really shaped my understanding of a connection, a relationship, in this case, a friendship, and how amazing it is. So thank you that you said yes, and thank you for being you, and thank you for wanting to sit at the back of the room on the table learning the countries of the world.
Absolutely. And like you're saying those things and it's like, I don't know, a lot of thoughts. A lot of thoughts, a lot of good thoughts.
Yeah, good things, huh?
Good things.
So I always like to end with inviting people, or just putting a question out there, a reflecting question for people listening. If you haven't reached out to your one friend that helped you understand, because I feel like we all had one, at least one. We have to. And if you haven't found your one, look around because I'm sure there's one looking for you. And if you have had your one, take a time to reach out and just remind them how amazing it was, because maybe they helped you shape your understanding and your appreciation for like loyalty and acceptance and respect and love and fun. And it's good to acknowledge that in times like this. Yeah, that's all I have to say about that. Anything you want to add?
Just know the same thing. It is important to reach out, even if you think that, you know, the connection isn't there anymore, or you've been separated for way too long, so it can't possibly. No, reach out because you never know. You never know. That other person may be waiting for you to reach out, you know, and friendships like this, lifelong friendships could be rekindled and give
Yeah.
you know, the things that you need.
Yeah. If anything, they help give perspective,
They do.
because it did that a lot for me today. All right. So it's been said, it'll be on the books. We'll have another one. I'm sure we'll have another one because Brenda and we can sit here and talk
More-
for hours. So we'll definitely do
Yeah,
another one talking about, surviving or choosing to live life. I don't know, we'll call it something, but it'll be sharing our stories of moving through those experiences that were challenging and how they supported us. But in this precise moment, again, I'm just really honoring how important and how special and how amazing it was that we met and that we stayed friends for, like, that you chose to show up to our friendship the way you did, authentically, for those 4 years, every freaking day.
It was a choice by both of us. It was a choice by both of us. It really was.
So here's to that. Put it there. There we go. And yeah, with that, I wish you all an amazing rest of your moment, whatever time, day you're listening. And yeah, if there's anything you want to share, feel free to reach out and just continue to live life, love life, have fun, and stay connected to the one that loves you no matter what. Yeah, makes it worth it.
It does.
Amazing. So I will see you around. See you next time.
See you next time.
Bye.
Bye.